Yes, he's gonna be here. He's my friend on my couch. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Allie. If you're new here, hello. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you. I appreciate you for not being sick of me yet. So as you know, one of my favorite book genres is romance. And I've recently had quite a few friends that have started into or gotten back into reading and, like me, are fans of some spicy content in their romance books. So I figured I would give you some recommendations of my personal favorite, but me personally, in my opinion, I like spice that adds to a plot. Let me explain how my math is mathing here for me to get these conclusions. There is spice, which in my opinion is the plot is greater than the amount of spice. If you take the spice out, there's still a plot. If you take the plot out, there's just random bits and pieces. It doesn't necessarily add to the plot, it's just kind of there for entertainment. On the other hand, we have erotica, where it's, you know, the spice is greater than the plot. You take out the spice and there is no plot. There is no plot without the spice. The purpose of the book is spice. I like the general middle where they kind of overlap. Smut, where kind of the plot and the spice is pretty much equal. Maybe give or take, maybe a little 75-45 back and forth, but I like books where it's a little bit more even. I'm not a big erotica person and I'll still read books that don't have spice, but my preferred is kind of that nice little sweet middle section, if that makes sense, if my maths to you. So I figured I would give you a list of some of my favorite sweet spot of spice and plot books. So starting off, the Addicted series by Christie and Becca Ritchie. This is a companion novel series. It's one of my favorites, but this definitely is a sweet middle section where there is spice and there is plot. I would say, in my opinion, is plot driven. The purpose of these books isn't necessarily the spice. The spice is meaningful because of the characters. If you have not heard of this series and you have not checked it out, I highly suggest it. Again, this is a companion novel series. It follows a group of sisters and their significant others that they gain and find throughout the series. The main series is The Addicted, and the spin-off series is the Calloway sisters, but generally speaking, you read them together at the same time. You read like 2 Addicted books and then a Calloway, and then 2 more Addicted and a Calloway. But basically, the overarching story, the main series follows Lily and Lo. Lily and Lo have been best friends since they were children. They grew up together, but they are both dealing with their own addictions. Lo is an alcoholic, Lily is a sex addict. They fake date throughout their childhood to be able to cover up and enable each other. They're able to, like, if somebody's wondering where Lo is, he can say he's with Lily instead of out at the bar where he's not supposed to be. But as they get older, they decide that they want to be together for real, but they can't healthily be in a relationship unless they try and fix their problems and work on themselves. So it's a very beautiful story to watch the characters grow and become better people. I was not the biggest fan of Lo at the beginning. I thought he was mean and I wasn't a big fan of his character, but I cried for him at the end of the series because he grew and changed so much as a person. It's an emotional series. I love it and it's got good spice. If you have not read it yet, I highly encourage you to. So then following that up with another series type book is the Bellinger sisters. It's a duet. You can read them both as standalones if you want, but it is 2 books. The first is It Happened One Summer and the second is Hook, Line, and Sinker. Also, if there's a ton of background noise, it is just started torrentially downpouring while I was recording this, so it's rain and I apologize. But the first book follows Piper and Brendan. Piper lives with her sister Hannah, who is the main character of the second book, but they both live in LA. Piper is the big party girl of the 2 of them. She finds herself in a little bit of trouble and her stepfather sends her to go live in this old home that her biological father had when she was a child out in this old fishing village as a way to get her to kind of find herself and lay low for a while and figure out if partying is all she's going to do with her life. She meets Brendan, who is a captain of one of the fishing ships. Very much grumpy sunshine, but the spice in this is amazing. The plot still very much there. If the spice was not there, I would still very much enjoy the characters and the storyline, but the spice is amazing and definitely adds to the book and to the storyline. So you have not read that, I highly suggest it, along with the second one that follows her sister Hannah, Fox, that she meets while she's out helping Piper find herself in the fishing village. Hannah goes back home and kind of continues her life, and by coincidence finds herself back in the village again, reconnects with Fox, and their story goes from there. There's more of a friends to lovers and like a forbidden romance type thing. Fox kind of has a reputation of being a player and doesn't want his reputation to rub off on Hannah, and Hannah, because Fox has that reputation, doesn't think that he'll be willing or able to be in a committed relationship. So they both just kind of dance around their feelings the whole time. Again, A+ smut. Both of these books are great. I think I 4 or 5 starred both of them. I love them to death. Go check them out if you haven't. So then next, what I feel like is a classic beach read by Emily Henry. I read this when it like blew up on BookTok like a year or so ago. I haven't read it since then. I do need to do a reread of it. I'm going on vacation fairly soon and I will probably take this one with me as a reread. This follows January and Augustus, otherwise known as Gus. They were kind of rivals in college. They both became best-selling authors. January's father has recently died and she is put in charge of kind of handling all his affairs. He has this summer home that she kind of goes to sort through and kind of tie all the loose ends up on, where she realized Gus lives next door. Enemies to lovers, kind of academic rivals to lovers. Very good banter, very good smut. Again, a happy medium. It's great. Challenging each other to trade book genres. January mostly writes romance. Gus mostly writes like science fiction. They make a bet that if they swap genres, whoever sells the best book kind of has to like promote the other person's books for like the rest of their life. But it's great. Their banter is amazing. Their characters are amazing. I definitely will be doing a reread of this again very soon because it's great. So if you have not checked it out, I know it's hyped, maybe a little bit overhyped, but in my opinion, it holds up. So if you have not checked it out, I very much encourage you to do so. Following up with another BookTok classic that holds up, Spanish Love Dissection by Elena Armas. This book is The Hating Games on smutty steroids. If you liked The Hating Game, I really truly think that you will love this book. I love The Hating Games. It's one of my favorite. This one is Jesus Christ, I can't talk today. This one is very similar in the sense of enemies to lovers, workplace enemies to lovers, work in the same office, don't get along. They do get along. This follows Catalina and Aaron. Again, they work in the same office, they don't get along. Catalina is supposed to be going back to Spain for her little sister's wedding that she doesn't have a date to because she was dumped by her ex-boyfriend about a year or so ago, and her whole family is just thinking that she's heartbroken about it and just can't move on from it, when she wants nothing more than to move on from it. She doesn't want to show up to this wedding alone and be pitied by her family. So she is trying to find a date for this wedding. She can't, where Aaron just out of the blue offers to be her date, and she's like, that's weird, we don't like each other, why would you do that? Secretly because he's in love with her, duh. But he says that he needs a date to this big millionaire's auction thing he has. So he's like, hey, you do me this favor, I'll do you this favor. So they agree to do the favors. They go to Spain, she goes to his auction, and things go from there. I truly enjoyed this story. It's a good happy medium. There's nice spice and there's an amazing plot, and they fit together really well. Again, TikTok hype, but in my opinion, it lives up to it. So if you have not checked it out, I very much hope that you do. I loved it. It was one of my favorite BookTok reads of the year. And this is a book that I read on Kindle Unlimited. So I read it for free, but liked it enough to go to the store and buy the physical copy of it. So yeah. And then finally, what I think another hyped up BookTok book recommendation for this, The Love Hypothesis. I read this about a month or so before it really kicked off on BookTok. I got it in my book of the month, and I 100% agree with the hype. It's amazing. Women in STEM. We love women in STEM. Literally, figuratively, metaphorically, however you want to take it, we love women in STEM. I loved the idea of this book, following this successful scientific woman and just being out there girl bossing so close to the sun. I enjoyed the shit out of it. This follows Olive and Adam. Olive, it follows her in grad school. Adam is one of her professors, but it is not a weird student-teacher thing where it's like a high schooler and their teacher. Like, they're the same age, it's grad school, so she's like the same age as half the professors, so it's not like a weird school romance thing. But Adam is one of her professors. She is incredibly single, so is Adam. Adam is known on campus as like the mean, grumpy teacher everybody hates. He fails everybody because he thinks everyone's stupid, but he's been pining over Olive for years because Olive told her best friend that she couldn't go out with her because she had a date, which was a lie. She just did not want to go out that night. She wanted wanted to stay in. And her friend was like, oh, well, who's your boyfriend? And she was like, oh, you know, this guy from our class we just started dating recently. And her friend was like, okay, prove it. Prove to me you have this boyfriend and I'll leave it alone. So she saw Adam just casually walking down the hallway. So split-second decision, she ran up and kissed him to try and prove to her friend that she had a boyfriend. And then it flashes to like a year or so later and Adam is just pining over her from this one kiss, and they get an opportunity to work on a project together, and it goes from there. I enjoyed this book so much. Adam is a gem. Pretty much any Adam in these romance books, it's a fairly popular name, Adam and Olive. They're all great. I love them all. This book was amazing. It was one of my favorite reads. It'll 100% be a reread. Ali Hazelwood has a lot more books coming out soon that I am super excited to get my hands on. But yeah, if you have not read this book, it's hyped for a reason. I definitely agree with it. So then another book of the month that I ended up falling in love with, Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. This is very Indian culture heavy, which I thought was really cool. This follows Karina and Prem. Karina is an adult who is not yet married, which is a big thing in her culture, and her family keeps trying to set her up in arranged marriages because her father is going to be selling her childhood home and will not give it to her unless she is at least engaged. So Karina's kind of desperate, but she in her heart wants to marry someone for love. She does not want to just be put in a loveless arranged marriage. Insert Dr. Prem, who has this reality show, Dr. Oz, Dr. Philly type shit, where he tries to, his whole basis of his show is he doesn't believe in love. He thinks it's fake. It's just a chemical in your body. And his whole show is basically him debunking people being in love. And he is in a similar boat to Karina. He, again, is unmarried. His family keeps trying to set him up in arranged marriages. Although he's not necessarily looking for love, he just has baggage of why he doesn't want to be married. But he is looking for grants to build this new clinic that he wants to build, and the companies won't give it to him because he can't commit to things. The companies are kind of like, you won't even get married. Like, how do we know that you're gonna pull through and actually like fill your promises of this clinic? So they meet, it doesn't go well, and then on coincidence are arranged to be married by their families. Karina doesn't want to, Prem necessarily doesn't want to, but they try and work it out and say, you know, we'll stay married for a year and then we'll get a divorce. That's the basis. It's fake dating, enemies to lovers. It was very good. I loved it. If you're a Taylor Swift fan, you would love this. Lots of T-Swizzle references in this book, which was very funny. I very much enjoyed it. It deserves more hype than what it has. So if you have not checked it out, please go do so. So then I couldn't not have a Colleen Hoover book in this video. I chose Ugly Love specifically. Please check your trigger warnings if you have not read this book. Most Colleen Hoover books I suggest reading trigger warnings for, but I definitely would consider it for this one. This is a brother's best friend to lovers. This follows Tate and Miles. Tate's brother and Miles are both pilots. They've been friends for years. Tate has had a crush on Miles, but he has a lot of baggage and won't date, especially since she is his best friend's little sister. But they start kind of just hooking up and having one-night stands because he doesn't want to commit to being in a relationship, and she figures kind of that whole thing out later on. A+ smut in this book. Yeah, plot is amazing. It makes you cry and it's great, but there's A+ smut. It's a classic, very popular for a reason, but please check your trigger warnings if you have not read it yet, but I highly encourage you to do so. It's great. So then next up, Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I read this book recently. It's been on my TBR forever. I was kind of worried about it because it was hyped up, but it did not disappoint. I definitely recommend this book if you haven't. This follows Bree and Archer. Bree relocates to this small town after going through some trauma that she just needs to get away from to work through, where she just kind of becomes a waitress and gets really close to everybody in this small town except for Archer, who is like the town's mysterious weird guy. Everybody's like, oh, he's weird, don't talk to him, like he hates everyone, just let him do his thing. But Bree is just curious and tries to get to know him, and he turns out to be the exact opposite of what everybody else thinks of him. I love this book. Their relationship is so cute. Archer is one of my favorite characters to have ever read about. This story I would sell my soul to read again for the first time. I cried, it made me feel things, it's beautiful, and there's A+ smut. That's what this video is for. That's that's what this book is about. Amazing. I should have read it sooner, but yeah, if you have not read it yet, I highly suggest you do. And then finally, last but not least, my final general recommendation for good, spicy books, You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hochul. This is a second chance romance. This follows Naomi and Nicholas. They are engaged when the story starts, but they are kind of questioning whether or not they're actually going to get married. They're really thinking about breaking off their engagement because they have just kind of grown to be separate people and they haven't really been communicating with each other. They've been holding a lot of stuff in and they just don't find each other compatible anymore. They kind of make one last ditch effort to try and work things out, and they kind of isolate themselves into this vacation home to see if they can fix anything or if they really are better off as friends. But the banter in this book is amazing. I have tabbed the crap out of this. I normally don't tab a lot of romance books, but I tabbed this one because it has all the feels, the quotes in this, just like the things they think plot wise. This book is beautiful to like hear their inner monologues of how they're feeling about each other in the situation and how upset they are with themselves and each other. It's, I feel like, very relatable to read, and then the spice just adds to it. It's a beautiful book. I'm a big fan of second chance romance, and this is probably one of my favorite ones. If you have not checked it out, I highly suggest you do. It's amazing and you're missing out. But yeah, these are my recommendations for spicy romance books. I feel like I definitely missed some. There's still more that could have been included in this that I just didn't come to mind at the time. Let me know if you guys want a part 2 of kind of my spicy recommendations for different genres like fantasy. I will gladly do that for you guys. But yeah, let me know if you agree with any of these opinions, what you would add to this list. If you've read any of these, how did you feel? Do you agree with them? But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I love and appreciate you so much. If you want to follow me in any of my social medias, or I'll be linked down below, as well as on my home screen channel banner. Also down below will be my Amazon wish list if you guys want to send me any books on there that I have picked out or any of your favorites that you think I might enjoy, any that fit this genre. Also linked down below will be my PangoBooks if you want to buy my or other people's secondhand books. It's just a cheaper way of filling up your TBR. But yeah, I love and appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and my squishmallow friend here. I will see you guys somewhere else on the internet. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.